David Abbott, a lonely landscape architect, moves into this apartment, seeking a fresh start after his wife's death. A strange woman appears in the mirror, startling her, but when David blinks, the woman vanishes. Shaking it off as exhaustion, he steps into his living room, only to see the woman again. "Who are you?" David demands. The woman Elizabeth, confused, insists, "I live here." David snaps back, "No, I live here." But the woman's figure flickers, then disappears. A wave of dizziness hits David, his skin cold. He wonders if he's losing his mind or facing something supernatural. One night, Elizabeth appears, accusing him of trespassing. "This is my home," she insists, pointing out details. A red couch, cough syrup in the cabinet, a bed from a department store. David, stunned, can't deny her knowledge of the place. She describes everything perfectly, but her presence feels off. She's translucent, her voice echoing. David tries to touch her, and his hand passes through her shoulder. Elizabeth gasps, backing away, her eyes wide. "You're a ghost," David says, his voice trembling. Elizabeth laughs it off, calling it absurd, but when she tries to grab the phone, her hand slips through. She stumbles, falling through a table, and panic sets in. David, desperate for answers, visits a bookstore to research hauntings. He flips through occult books, but none explain Elizabeth's vivid presence. She's not a typical ghost. She remembers her life, except her name and job. To keep her out, David installs a new lock, but Elizabeth appears inside anyway, scolding him. "You can't lock me out of my own home," she says. David, frustrated, suggests she might be dead. Elizabeth refuses to believe it, storming toward him, only to trip and pass through the floor. She reappears, shaken, and David realizes she's not just haunting him, she's trapped, unaware of her fate. Elizabeth lingers in the apartment, hiding in the fridge or sitting by the stereo, humming softly. David tries to ignore her, but her presence is constant. She even critiques his choice of underwear. Exasperated, he calls a friend, Jack, for help. Jack, skeptical, visits and sees nothing, but David chatter convinces him something's there. "She's real, Jack," David insists. Jack suggests an exorcist. The next day, a quirky psychic, Daryl, arrives, waving sage and chanting. The ritual fails, nearly setting the curtains on fire. Daryl shrugs, saying, "She's not a ghost. Her soul's detached, not dead." He mentions another spirit in David's life, his late wife, Laura, whose memory keeps him stuck. David bristles, refusing to discuss Laura. "This is about Elizabeth," he says, pushing Daryl out. Elizabeth, listening, feels a pang of sympathy. She sees David's pain, his apartment cluttered with Laura's photos. Daryl's words linger. David rents it on impulse, hoping it'll anchor her. That night, Elizabeth's presence feels heavier. David, seeking escape, heads to a bar. Elizabeth appears, urging him not to drink. "It won't fix anything," she says. David ignores her, downing whiskey, but her words hit home. Alcohol numbed his grief for Laura, but it trapped him. Elizabeth, too, feels lost, her identity slipping. David softens, seeing her sadness mirror his own. The next morning, he visits neighbors in the building, asking about Elizabeth. 5 households claim the apartment was empty for months. "No one's lived there," a neighbor says. Elizabeth, invisible beside him, looks crushed. "I was a workaholic," she murmurs, piecing together fragments of her life. They wander to a restaurant, where Elizabeth feels a spark of recognition. A customer collapses, clutching his chest. Elizabeth, on instinct, guides David to help. "Check his pulse, tilt his head back," she directs. David follows, saving the man with CPR. Elizabeth's eyes light up. She was a doctor. They rush to her hospital, where the staff and wards feel familiar. In a quiet moment, she remembers. She was the chief resident, consumed by work, with no time for love. In a ward, she sees a comatose woman, herself. Elizabeth stares, horrified. That's me, she whispers. A car accident 3 months ago left her in a coma. David, stunned, realizes she's not dead, just separated from her body. Elizabeth Masterson stands frozen in the hospital ward, staring at her comatose body hooked to machines. Her face, pale and still, shocks her. She's not dead, but her soul is untethered. David Abbott, beside her, processes the truth. Elizabeth's car accident 3 months ago left her in this limbo. David urges her to try re-entering her body, but when she reaches out, an invisible force pushes her back. Her soul and body refuse to align, like magnets repelling. The hospital staff deliver grim news to Elizabeth's sister, Abby. To aid recovery, they recommend stopping life support soon. Elizabeth overhears, panic rising. She whispers to Abby, begging her to wait, but Abby can't hear. David watches Elizabeth's desperation, his own heart heavy. He lost his wife, Laura, to illness, and the pain of letting go haunts him. Abby hesitates, torn by the decision, but doesn't commit yet. Elizabeth, fading slightly, clings to David. They leave the hospital, walking under San Francisco's dim city lights. Elizabeth feels like a shadow, disconnected from the world's bustle. David, too, carries his grief, but their shared loneliness sparks a bond, two broken souls warming each other. To lift Elizabeth's spirits, David takes her to a hidden garden he designed, its flowers glowing in the morning light. The beauty stirs Elizabeth. She once dreamed of turning her rooftop into a garden but never had time. I wanted this, she says, touching a petal she can't feel. They hold hands, their connection deepening, but a call shatters the moment. Abby has signed the hospital's consent form to end Elizabeth's treatment. David and Elizabeth race to Abby's house. Elizabeth tries to speak, shouting, "I'm here. Don't give up." But Abby, unaware, grows frustrated with David's pleas. Thinking he's delusional, she kicks him out. Elizabeth, defeated, accepts her fate. "I'm going to die," she says, her form flickering. David refuses to quit. He scours books on spiritual reconnection but finds nothing. In a moment of clarity, sunlight on his face, he gets a bold idea. He calls his friend Jack, explaining Elizabeth's soul. Jack doubts, but David insists. To prove Elizabeth's presence, he describes her flipping Jack off behind him. "She's real," David says, his voice cracking. "I love her." Jack's jaw drops. He believes. David admits he was meant to meet Elizabeth on that blind date, but her accident stopped it. They rush to the hospital to save her, but guards catch them near Elizabeth's room. In the chaos, a guard accidentally yanks her oxygen mask. Elizabeth's soul fades, her form dissolving. David, frantic, performs CPR on her body, but guards pull him away. Everyone braces for Elizabeth to slip away, but her heart monitor beeps, a faint pulse. Miraculously, her vital signs stabilize. Elizabeth's eyes flutter open, her body alive again. David, breathless, expects a joyful reunion, but Elizabeth stares blankly. "Who are you?" she asks. She remembers her family, her job, but David is a stranger. His heart sinks, her soul forgot their time together. Devastated, David leaves the hospital, unable to face the loss. Elizabeth recovers, moving back to her apartment, now David's old place. She feels an odd presence, like someone's watching. On the rooftop, she finds a garden, exactly like her dream, with flowers David planted for her. She gasps, a memory stirring but not surfacing. David, meanwhile, works on a new project, trying to let Elizabeth go. He visits the rooftop one last time, ready to move on. As he turns to leave, Elizabeth appears, her eyes wide. A flood of memories hits her. Their arguments, the garden, their love. "David," she whispers, tears falling. She remembers everything, their soul-bound journey bridging life and death. David, stunned, pulls her close. They embrace, their wounds healing in each other's arms. Their love, born in the space between worlds, feels like a miracle. The city sparkles below, and though heaven may not exist, their connection makes the world feel divine. They stand together, ready to build a life, their hearts finally whole.